Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Perfectly Imperfect podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Minnie, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. Today, I believe, is going to be my last episode recorded here in my apartment in New York City. It is now August 24th when I'm recording this, and I move out in 2 days on August 26th. And I don't know, it feels crazy. It feels kind of like it's actually not happening. I was very emotional about it at the beginning of August. Now that I'm here, I have had an absolutely incredible week with one of my dear friends, Chiara she's from Rome. She came to visit me for a week this week. I literally just came back from dropping her off at the train to go back to the airport. And we also recorded a podcast episode together, which I don't know what order it may come out. I think it'll come out after this episode. So stay tuned for that. It was a great episode. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I wanted to record one last episode in New York and talk about just my experience living in New York. I haven't hit 2 years completely, but I'm almost there. I moved to New York in December 2023, and now it's August 2025. So a few months, couple months off, 4 months off, I guess, a year and 8 months-ish, year and 9 months maybe. But I wanted to just talk about my experience, some things that maybe I wish I knew before moving here. And I also asked you guys if you had any questions for me about my experience living in New York, living alone, moving to a new city, making new friends, all the sort of things that come along with moving outside of, your circle and your community and maybe where you're from. And I wanted to answer those as well. So yeah, let's get just right into it. I have 5 points here that I wish I knew before I moved to New York City. So I wanted to share those with all of you if you are, one, thinking about moving to New York City. But I also feel like New York City is definitely unique, and like not every city is like New York, but there can be a lot of similarities between just the experience of moving to a new place or moving to a busier, more bustling, more urban place, city. There's, a lot of similarities that come with just the experience of moving independently, moving alone, moving somewhere new. And I myself will be taking what I learned from moving to New York City and from these last almost 2 years living in New York City. I'm going to take so much of what I've learned in this experience into my next chapter when I move to Paris in December. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to share it with you guys. And I feel like I also do get a lot of questions about how logistically I got here, how financially you make it happen, how to find an apartment, like all of those kinds of things. So figured we could just cover that today and then kind of make it an ode to New York and a little bit of a goodbye to New York. But I'm not saying goodbye. I feel like I'm going to be back. So it's more like a see you in a bit, nos vemos, or like a tout. I don't know. Let's just dive into this. So 5 things I wish I knew before moving to New York City. The first thing that I wish someone told me or sort of warned me about, I guess, is that this city can make you feel FOMO or like fear of missing out so badly, but it is actually probably physically impossible to do and be absolutely everywhere all at once. Like it is impossible. It just is impossible to be and do everything all at once. And I think when I moved, I was so excited by the fact that there is always so much going on all the time. And there are so many places you could be and so many things you could be doing all the time. Like literally the possibilities are endless. There's always things going on in this city. And that's one of the incredible reasons that I love being here, is that there are always new things. But I felt very, very overwhelmed by it at first and really struggled to determine for myself what to go to and what to miss and what to join in and what to not go to. And I just felt this pressure of like, I have to do it or else I'm missing out on some opportunity, whether it be like an influencer event. I'm like, oh, I have to go. I'm going to miss this opportunity to meet this people or talk to this person. Or if it's like a way that you could like network with more people, or if it's just a way to make more friends, or if it's just like a cool opportunity, an event, thing, restaurant that people are talking about. Like there's just an endless list of things, and things are always being added to that list of things that are trending, things that are like must-dos in New York City. And if you try to keep up with that, if you try to constantly attend and go and check off your list all the things to do, I feel like it's just a one-way ticket fast to burnout. That I'm just going to say it. Like, and I feel like that has happened to me at times where I've gotten very, very close and then I'm like, okay, I need to reel it back. And then in those moments of reeling it back, I then realize like how uncomfortable it is slowing down and saying no and not joining in, and how, strong my FOMO felt at times. Like I just was so fearful that I was missing out on certain things, or that I wasn't sort of taking advantage of or using my time in New York City, quote unquote, wisely. You are allowed to be exactly who you are, no matter where you are in the world. And you deserve to honor what you need. And if you need more slowness, if you need more chill time, if you need just chill hangouts with friends and you don't need to be going clubbing and out nightlife all the time, drinking all the time, even though there is a big, huge scene for that in New York, personally, I have not engaged with that very much. Definitely there have been times where I'm like, oh, I should be doing more of that. Like I'm young, like now's the time to do it. I live in East Village, like I should be doing it. It's all right here at my fingertips. But I realize like if I was doing that and if I'm pushing myself to do that, I'm not aligning with myself, and I'm not allowing myself to be my most authentic self. And I'm sort of giving into these pressures or these quote unquote ideal lifestyle of New York City. Yeah, I just wish someone sort of warned me of that a little bit, and that, or more so just warned me that that feeling will come, because I feel like I just wasn't prepared for how deeply I was going to feel it, and then how deeply I then had to sort of reverse those feelings and just manage it. And I feel like it kind of forced me into a personal growth and healing journey that I wasn't prepared for it. I mean, who is really prepared for a healing journey? It kind of comes when you need it, not when you're ready for it. But so in that way, I'm so incredibly grateful for this city, because it has pushed me in uncomfortable ways and made me realize things about myself that are very uncomfortable. And it's pushed me into wanting to understand myself better, wanting to align with my most authentic self better. And yeah, basically just heal certain things that I had either been ignoring or I wasn't aware were present about my past and about myself. And this city has kind of a wonderful way of bringing those things to light in your life that you may want to be pushing away, and that you may not want to deal with, and that you don't want to touch upon or talk about. But this city is full of discomfort. And it's full of unknown, it's full of uncertainty. And I think when you're put in situations where you have to navigate discomfort and uncertainty and sort of, change a lot of the time with your outside environment, it really forces you to build a strong foundation within yourself. Because if you don't have a strong foundation trying to navigate uncertainty, if you're feeling uncertain in your foundation and you have uncertainty outside, then nothing is going to work, and it's really hard to move forward, and it's really hard to progress and feel confident in that. And I think that is one of the biggest things I've learned, I guess, about living here, is that it is not an easy city to live in. It's not an easy place. I'm not going to be here and be like, it's great and so easy and everything is so convenient and cheap and perfect. Like, no, things are very inconvenient at times. It's extortionately expensive and it's stressful. So I think it's made me realize that if you don't have a strong foundation within yourself, if you don't sort of have at least a sense of confidence, or a growing sense of confidence that you can get yourself through moments of discomfort, moments of change, moments of uncertainty, this city will push back. This city will push back on you, and it will make it really difficult for you. And that sort of, you can either rise to the occasion and realize, yeah, I want to grow stronger. I want to get through this. I want to figure out how I can help myself navigate all of this and living in the city. Or you maybe realize it's not right for you, and that pushing yourself in that way and dealing with what the reality of living here is like is just not for you, and that is completely okay. It's not for everyone. Yeah, I think that's something I would tell anyone moving to New York, and yeah, something that I wasn't aware of, but I'm overall so grateful to become more aware of, and I'm so grateful to have had this experience. And it's not an end. This experience has not ended. It's an ongoing healing and growth journey for myself that I'm excited to keep taking steps forward in, even though it won't be in New York for the next few months and probably a year. But I'll be able to take what I've learned here and bring it to wherever I am in the world in my next chapters. The next thing I wish I knew before moving to New York City was just how aware you need to be. And I feel like personally I've always been like pretty good at this, but like, maybe not. I don't know. Some people have said I don't really have street smarts, and based on where I grew up, you did not need street smarts at all. Like this tiny town where cars stopped, even if it was like the light just turned green, they would let you go. And, you basically as a pedestrian, you could do whatever you wanted. Here in New York City, pedestrians do not have right of way. You cannot do whatever you want. And it's not just cars and pedestrians, it's just even navigating the traffic on the sidewalks and the crazy people that may be around and the groups of people and, the crowds and all of that. I just realized so quickly that one, I was just getting very anxious if I wasn't aware. So I think there were definitely certain times where maybe I was like overdoing it. But now that I'm thinking that, like, you really can't overdo it. You really can't overdo being aware of your surroundings, and especially in a city like New York where you don't know who's gonna turn the corner and, be in your presence or be a few feet away from you. You don't know the plans and the thoughts of the people around you. And so all you can do is just be as aware as possible so that you have maximum amount of time to react and get away and exit and, change train car, do whatever you need to do. But if you're listening to loud music, if you're on your phone, if you're not looking up, if you are on the phone, if you are just not paying attention to what's going on around you, like, you'll miss those things. And I'm so grateful that I haven't been in any really serious situations. And I'm not going to say I never listen to music and I never listen to podcasts when I'm outside. I definitely do. But I feel like I know when to like turn it on, turn it off, put the volume up, put the volume down. So like, for example, on the subways, I really try to have it like low, or I just turn it off altogether because I want to be aware. We're stuck in this train car, all of us and these strangers, like, who knows what could happen. And I try not to get super, super anxious about it. But I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh my God, like literally anything could happen. And it's all of us, just these random people stuck in this train car. And we all have to wait until the next stop before anyone can get off. So just things like that, not to scare you. Like, really, you can be safe about it and you can be fine. And like I said, I haven't had any crazy, scary experiences. And I'm not oblivious to the fact that crazy, scary experiences do happen. So yeah, just have your head on a swivel, as they say, and be aware of your surroundings. The third thing I wish I knew before moving to New York is that don't stare at people. This one actually, I have had like a sort of unpleasant experience where I was staring at someone, and I definitely realized after that I need to be aware not only of my surroundings, but I need to be aware of myself and where my eyes are lingering and where I'm looking at and what I'm smiling at or engaging in. Because there was this person dressed very interestingly, and I was just like staring at them. I was just curious. I was like, why are they wearing what they're wearing? Like, it was just a very interesting look. And I literally got flicked in the face. Like, literally full on flicked me in the face between my eyes. I like was so startled, and they just like laughed and walked past me after they flicked me in the face, because I genuinely was staring, and part of me was like, sure, I do deserve that, like I was staring at you. But also, like, I did not expect them to invade my personal space and literally touch me on my face and flick me, and it was just a really weird experience. I'm grateful it wasn't more violent than just a flick. But yeah, that just taught me, like, you can take a glance, take a look, but don't stare. Don't let your eyes linger too much on certain things, because you never know. If you lock eyes with that other person, they might try to take advantage of that. They might try to engage with you, have a conversation, come up to you because you've engaged with them in that way. Another thing I wish I knew before moving to New York City is that you really can't look for apartments more than 2 months in advance. And even 2 months is a stretch, honestly. I moved from Boston, where we literally would have apartments signed like over 6 months in advance. I think I signed one lease for September 1st and it was all set by like the April prior, which is just like doesn't exist in New York. At least I haven't found that, and it not in my experience. Everything, even when I would reach out to like real estate agents and brokers about certain apartments and it was like 2 months in advance, 3 months in advance, they were like, sorry, get back to me like 1 month before. Like, we're not even looking at that. So I don't know, that's something that my type A anxious brain does not enjoy, because especially when I was moving here, I really wanted to plan things out. And then when I was contemplating like moving to a new apartment in New York City, I wanted to look this summer at apartments, but like it just really, I don't know, there was kind of no point. So that's something I wish I knew. And, I think it's something I'm much more at peace with now, so that the next time when I do return to New York, I kind of know this about just the way apartment hunting is in the city. It's very last minute, but you kind of do have to be like quick on your feet and, trying to get a place. I was looking back when I got this apartment in 2020, early 2024, I was looking at the dates, and I think I toured the apartment like the first week of January. And by the last week of January, I had signed my lease and it was mine, and I was moving in the next week. So probably like 4 weeks from beginning to end of seeing it for the first time to then moving in, which is just really, really short compared to Boston, at least, which was my previous experience. So another thing I wish I knew before moving to New York City is that it is very, very easy to blow through your money. Like, there have been some moments that I'm not proud of, but I will suddenly just be like, where did all my money go? Like, where did all my money go? And it's not like I'm doing big purchases or buying like, I don't know, shoes or bags or designer things that are like a big chunk of money. It's just day to day. Like, it really adds up. I think 2023 was the first year I really started to try to understand investing. Or 2022, I started trying to invest, but then 2023 into 2024, once I, was like living in New York, I was like, I need to keep track of what I'm spending. I can't just sort of like not know what I'm spending and where I'm spending it, because it can so quickly just like disappear. And I want to be able to know that if I do that, I can then go back and track like, okay, I spent way too much on clothing, so next month I want to not go shopping for clothing. Or maybe I went out to dinner like way too many times because it was just a very social month or something. And then I can say, okay, next month. But I want to be able to know like where I spent what and how much money. So I personally made myself like an Excel spreadsheet, which I've categorized by like the spending category. So I think I have like food and drink, cafes, rent, utilities, electricity, and then there's like home stuff, personal care, like a transportation, and then like any sort of subscriptions that I have. And then I also put my income on there. So like any my streams of income that I have, I put on there as well. So I kind of get a whole picture of where I'm making money and where I'm spending my money. And then I sort of have on the side a whole sum of everything I made that month and everything I spent that month. And then I can see if I'm in net positive or net negative. Did I make money that month or did I lose money that month? Honestly, that has been incredibly helpful. I'm not saying I'm perfect at budgeting, and I definitely still have moments like, where I maybe do spend more than I probably should or just mismanage certain things. I feel like that's just a part of growing up and living independently, moving to a new city, and just learning how to be financially independent. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but doing what you can to put things in place so that you can have the most informed sort of picture of your finances the best you can, especially in a city where it's so easy to just blow through money, has been really, really incredibly helpful for me. I also know that, just the way my brain works, like if I'm too restrictive on something, then I just sort of become obsessive about it. So if I'm like, I can't buy any matchas or coffees out, like that's just going to make me like think about it more and want to do it more. And so I think just by being conscious and getting the things when I want and spending money on experiences and spending money on things that are memorable or that are important to me or that are, ways that I'm spending time with people that I love and connecting with new people. I feel like those are experiences and things so worth spending money on because you get so much in return, whether that be love, support, growth in your relationship with yourself. Like all of those things are just so valuable and I feel like are definitely worth the money, but equally it's good to be conscious. And there's been many, many times where I'm like straight up with my friends and I'm like, I've spent a lot on dinners out this month. Like, could we just maybe go for dessert, or we just get something small, or even we don't buy anything and we just go on a walk, like depending if it's like, walkable weather. So I feel like just also being transparent about it with friends and being open, like people are totally understanding. At least that's what I've been finding. Even if we all have different financial situations, people are generally understanding. I'm just like, okay, sure, we'll find a way. And if they're not understanding, like, are they really your friend? So I also wanted to quickly put in here another thing I wish I knew before moving to New York. Kind of connects back to my first point about sort of how it like pushes you into knowing yourself on a deeper level and sort of healing and growing and building confidence and building your foundation. I wish I knew that I would need to learn how to self-regulate. And I think this really just depends on the person. Maybe some people like naturally self-regulate more, or they might just have a sort of more natural like equilibrium of regulation. I am not one of those people personally. I kind of tend to run in a regulated or in a dysregulated state by default. So I have to make intentional effort to bring myself down, bring my anxious brain down to a regulated state. And in an overstimulating city like New York City, that is not always easy to do. Back to the first point as well, like you can always be doing something. You can always find ways and reasons to distract yourself from your anxieties, distract yourself from what you're worried about, what you're stressed about. Like there's always things, and whether it's going outside or just scrolling on your phone, like there's always ways to distract yourself. And it's honestly like easier than ever before, I feel like, in the history of life of humans, to distract yourself from the way you feel. Something that I've learned living here is that while it is so easy to distract yourself and it is so easy to sort of numb that side and sort of push away the fact that you feel dysregulated, there's so much empowerment in being able to regulate yourself in the chaos of living in New York City and in the overstimulation of New York City. I feel like that was something I have only really been grasping lately, and I think my time in Paris really honed that in for me in this last month in New York City after being in Paris. I feel like I've really started kind of incorporating more ways to self-regulate and slow down and calm down. And I think it also probably just comes with time of living in New York City. There definitely is the reality of like the novelty of moving, and you have your first few months, your first year, and it's exciting and you want to join in things. But then like anything, you get used to it and you realize like, oh, that's there. I can go anytime. There doesn't have to be this urgency, this like sort of overstimulation of always having to go and be and do things. But I also think a big part of it is that I've intentionally made the decision to self-regulate and not distract myself and not fill my schedule so busy that I don't even have time to think about how I feel or what I'm anxious about. And while sure, it's more uncomfortable at times, I have realized that this is one of the keys to longevity in this city. I'm learning so much about myself, and I'm realizing like right now I want different for myself, but I see it being a place for me in the long term, but only because I've done the work of wanting to find ways to self-regulate and grow and build a strong foundation among the chaos and the stimulation of the city. It is so possible to find regulation, find balance, find peace, even in a city like New York that is full of so much chaos, so much going on, so much ambiguity, so much uncertainty. You have the power to build that certainty, build that strength, build that confidence, and build the ability to regulate even when everything around you is dysregulated. So much easier said than done, I know. But I guess I hope that gives anyone who maybe is afraid of taking the step to moving to New York for that reason of that, oh, it's too much going on. But maybe you deep down, you have like a desire to experience it and push yourself in that way and go outside of your comfort zone in that way. And I will tell you, go for it. I will tell you, go for it, because you will only grow, you will only learn, and who knows, maybe this city will chew you up and spit you back out to where you're supposed to be, but at least you have been able to grow and learn so much about yourself in that process. So now I wanted to move on to some of your questions from Instagram. The first question here is, how does NYC hustle culture compare to the other places you've lived in? I would say it's the most powerful here, the strongest here, the most present here. And I guess I've really only lived long-term in 3 different places, like my hometown where I grew up. I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts, where I went to university, and now I've lived in New York City. I wouldn't say I lived in Paris. I was there for 6 weeks, and I spent 4 weeks in London last year. So really lived in 3 places, and of those 3 places, New York City is by far the most present, has the biggest presence of hustle culture. And I guess how would they compare? Personally, I think there's a bit of a hustle culture in Boston. I think it's there if you want it to be there. And I think that is one of the beautiful aspects of Boston, is that you can really decide to engage or you can decide to not engage. And I feel like New York City maybe is a little bit harder to have that choice, but you definitely still can have that choice. It just might be a little bit more difficult to detach, because there's just like more people attached to it. So it might be a little bit harder to detach. And I think with Boston being such like a university city, like there's so many universities, there's so many students, there's more working people, working adults here in New York than I feel like there are in Boston. And you know, I might be biased as well because I lived there as a student. I was only a working professional there for like, I don't know, 5 months. So I didn't really get to like experience post-grad life, working life in Boston. But just from my experience, I think the fact that there are so many students and it is very heavily populated by students and people who aren't working full time, I think there is less of that hustle culture. And maybe depending where you live in Boston, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's less. And then, I mean, where I grew up on the North Shore, like it's just like a suburb. So there really isn't any hustle, and it's just like families and a beach town. If I want to include London and Paris, I would say still New York City hustle culture is the strongest. But honestly, in my experience, I think London would be second. But I feel like there's just like so many similarities now between like New York and London. I'm kind of like, are they even different cities? Like, but they definitely are. In New York, I mean, London has its charm. It has its English roots that you'll never be able to get rid of and will never be the same as New York. But I feel like a lot of the mentalities, a lot of trends, a lot of things are being interwoven into the culture and into the hustle culture of London as well. So personally, I felt that, but still less than New York. So I enjoyed that it was a little bit less, and people definitely appreciate slowness more, and they sit in parks and they chill, and like that does happen in New York City for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like people are only chaotically hustling and working, and like there are people like that, but there are people who are just chilling in parks and enjoying the slow moments and intentionally disengaging from hustle culture when they need to. But I just feel like, yeah, there's a bigger presence of it here than Europe. And I would say, yeah, London maybe has a little bit more of a hustle culture in my experience than Paris. I feel like Paris, they don't talk about work as much. They don't identify with work as much. There's still a hustle. And I think that's why I'm really excited to live there, because I do thrive around others who are ambitious and want a lot for themselves and who are maybe creative and entrepreneurial. I really love meeting people like that. And I think there are such big communities of those kinds of people in all of these cities, Boston, London, Paris, New York. But It just feels less or so in Paris. It feels like you can detach a lot more easily, and it's much more normalized to detach from that and not be so identified and wrapped up in hustle culture. One of the reasons I'm really excited to be spending some time there. Next question here is tips on finding an affordable apartment. To be honest, I only have one apartment experience here, just this apartment that I've stayed in. And honestly, finding the most affordable apartment, I would say, would be one, applying to affordable housing websites, which I have done, but I haven't heard back from any of them. I know it's a lottery system, so there's a chance that your name could get pulled and that you could be selected for affordable housing. But find the affordable housing websites for New York City and just basically put your name in. And I have my name in on a few, so maybe one day down the line they'll call me, maybe not. And living with others, like if you can split the rent with roommates, that is, I guess, the most affordable way. I personally decided not to do that. I really wanted to try living on my own, and I was in a place financially that I could afford living on my own. But I think if you are looking in the most desirable neighborhoods and you're looking for buildings with amenities and balcony and dishwasher and washer dryer, you're not going to find the most affordable, to be honest, because they hike up the prices once you add all of those amenities and sort of additional things. So I would say looking to live with people, split the rent with others. Don't look for special modern buildings with all the appliances. And honestly, I really like the older buildings too. They have this like New York City charm to them that I really enjoy. So those would be my tips. And I believe the broker fee is actually gone now in New York, but before you could like do lease takeovers to bypass a broker fee. Moving on to the next question is things to do, cafes, parks, museums, etc., your favorites. Okay, I could literally do a whole another episode about this, but off the top of my head, I'll do 3 in each of these categories. 3 cafes that I love. Let's say S'more Bakery in East Village. I love L'Appartement 4F in West Village and Brooklyn. And I love, Blank Street, I guess. That's so basic, but I really do enjoy it. Parks, I would say Rockefeller Park in Battery Park City, sort of near Fidei, is beautiful. Washington Square Park and McCarran Park has been a recent favorite in Williamsburg. I really, really love it. And then also like by the Cherry Hill Fountain in Central Park is beautiful. Museums, I would say the Guggenheim is one of my favorites, and Fotografiska is a photography museum that I really, really enjoy. Some favorite restaurants, Shushu no Lita, I love that one, 12 Chairs. I also love Olioe Pew and Rowies. I really love that one too in West Village. And then this last point I wanted to touch on is kind of funny, that one of you wrote in the question section, and it says, I can't tell if I like living in New York City or just telling other people that I live there. And that really made me think if I am the same. But honestly, after thinking about it, I can confidently say that I genuinely love living here, and I have absolutely loved spending my time here in New York City these last, almost 2 years. Sure, I'm not going to lie, maybe at the beginning when I was moving, I was definitely sort of chasing this idea of life in New York City. And the first year for sure was me sort of really working through what that expectation I had for myself was, and maybe what that picture that social media or society portrays of life in New York City, and sort of comparing that with like my personal reality of New York City and what my life looks like in New York City and what I want it to be in New York City. And so that is a very valid thought that, there is so much glamorized about the city, and there is so much kind of out there in the world that like, this is the best place to be, this is the most ideal place to be, this is where all of your life questions will be answered. But like, that is not the case, and there's no one place in the world that can do that for you. So if you are finding yourself thinking about this and thinking the same as this person, and thinking that, do I really like where I am, or do I just like sort of the idea or the external picture, or do I just like telling people that I'm here and this is what I'm doing? I'm so grateful that you said that, and for your honesty here, because that is something so real that I think is so important for every single human being to question about themselves and about where they are and what they're doing. Because if you are doing something just for the look of it and just for how you're being perceived or what you can maybe write on your resume or what you can tell people, then are you really living your most aligned life? Only you can answer that question, but it's definitely something to think about. But like I said, I can confidently say I do love living here, and it's shown me that I love living in big cities, and I love being surrounded by strangers and different types of people from all over the world. But thank you again for your questions, and I hope you found this episode helpful or useful in some way. And my DMs are always open if you have questions about moving to New York or life in New York. I am, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to feel yet that I leave in 2 days, but I'm very excited for the next chapter, anxious a bit, and I have every faith in you that you will get through whatever step you are navigating, whatever chapter you are in right now. And I'm sending you so much love, and I'll catch you in the next episode.